Well, I want to start the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I want to start by pledging allegiance to the flag. If you'd all stand as able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I want to welcome you to this Water Commissioners meeting, and we'll start out with citizens' comments. Anybody have anything they would like to bring up that is not on the agenda relative to the Water Commissioners meeting? All right, then we will open a hearing relative to findings of no significant impact for the sewer force main, and I'm going to be turning a meeting over to Matt Bissell of Dufresne Group. Matt, you want to introduce yourself? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, hold on. I gotta actually get the motion. So I need a motion to open the hearing.
Move to open the Water Commissioners.
So Ariana's
no significant impact hearing regarding the sewer force main.
Excellent. Ariana's made the motion.
I'll second.
Tim's the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, Matt, now it's your turn.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So I have a PowerPoint presentation that I sent. Do you want me to share my screen or do you want to pull it up on your end?
Susan should have it. Susan, do you want to pull it up or do you want Matt to share?
To share.
Matt, why don't you share?
Okay.
Oh, no, there she got it. Perfect. Maybe.
Dueling sharing.
There you go.
Great, thank you. I think the title is hidden behind one of those animations if you just want to hit the enter key once or. Yeah, can you hit the right arrow once just to show the title?
Just a moment. I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'll let you do it.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not quite. There you go.
Yes.
Cool. All right, so this is a finding of no significant impact hearing for the First Avenue Force Main project. This project is to replace the existing force main that currently runs along Depot Street. We're going to relocate it to First Avenue. This hearing is requirement of the Vermont Water Investment Division environmental review process. The project's been determined to have no significant impact, and so we'll go over some of the environmental factors that we looked at during our process here. So as I said, this is a required public hearing in accordance with the Vermont DEC Notice of Intent to issue a finding of no significant impact. This project is approximately 3,000 feet of force main on First Avenue from the intersection of First Avenue and Depot Street near the existing pump station to the intersection of First Avenue and Coach Road in Depot Street at the top of the hill. There's some gravity sewer main replacement on First Avenue, about 300 feet. And there's some gravity sewer replacement on Green Mountain Turnpike, just a short 300-foot section. As part of the environmental review process, there's several environmental impacts that we evaluate. The first one being environmental justice. That's things like sensitive populations or affordability. This is a buried pipe network, so there's no real impacts there. The next one we look at is cultural, historic, and archaeological resources. For this, we consulted with Harkin Archaeological Associates, and they performed a archaeological resource assessment. They determined that there is a potential sensitivity for historic and archaeological deposits on Green Mountain Turnpike due to the Dawson Grist Mill being adjacent to our project area. One of the recommendations that they provided was that we have archaeological monitoring during any ground disturbing activities. And so we will consult with Hartkin during this process. So any ground disturbing activities in that area, Hartkin will be on site monitoring excavations. The next one we looked at was land use. This project is contained completely within the public right of way and mostly within the paved roadway. So there's no change in land use and there's no effect on any agricultural soils or anything like that. The next thing we looked at was wetlands, floodplains, coastal zones, wild and scenic rivers. The project, like I said, was contained almost purely in a roadway, so there's no effect on wetlands or wild and scenic rivers or coastal zones. The lower end of the project is in a regulatory floodplain, but since it's a buried utility and we're not changing any grades, it's determined that it's a no rise effect on the flood elevations. For fish and wildlife and endangered species, this project is in the roadway, so there's no tree cutting, and there's no endangered species in our project area, except for the northern long-eared bat. So there's no impact there due to the no tree cutting and no disturbance. Drinking water and groundwater protection. We looked at hazardous sites and other factors. The Chester Center there is designated as an urban soil background area. It's just a generic classification that the soils could have potential contaminations from urban soils. So there's contract requirements in there for any excess soils from this area to be disposed of in an urban soil background area or disposed of as contaminated materials. And that's following Vermont regulation. And then air quality, noise and emissions. Since it's just buried utilities and no permanent fixtures, there is no air quality, noise and emissions impacts. And that's it. This is an opportunity for the public to issue any comments or questions based on our findings.
Well, thank you, Matt. Appreciate the presentation. Anybody on the board have any questions about this?
Yeah, I had a quick question, Matt. I saw
Sure.
where you were doing the archaeological digging on I guess it's Flamstead or First Avenue, that little field there. Are they gonna be heading back there to straighten it out? Because boy, you're gonna have a hard time mowing out there now. There's piles of dirt all over the place.
So yeah, Hartkin, that was part of their phase one assessment there. There's 3 contracts associated here. The hearing tonight's for contract 1, which is the force main. Contract 2 is going to be the pump station replacement, which is why they're out there doing that work. If they left it in poor condition, that's something we can take a look at. And,
All right.
I'll be sending an email to Naomi tomorrow. The guys came in this afternoon to talk.
okay.
Tough mowing.
No, they're gonna.
Any other questions on the board? Anyone in the public want to ask any questions about this? All right, thank you. Again, Matt, thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate it.
Of course, thanks.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Oh, wait, we gotta close the hearing first. Sorry.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to close the hearing in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, now I will entertain a motion to adjourn this Water Commissioners meeting.
I'll make that motion.
So Arnie's the motion. Do I have a second? Ariana's the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Now, I will start out our special select board meeting. This is special because it's coming after our water commissioners meeting. And so the first item on the agenda is the zoning bylaw amendment public hearing. So we need to open the hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing for the zoning bylaw amendment. Arnie's made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Ariana's a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Our public hearing for the zoning bylaw amendment is open, and I'm assuming you will be, come on up. Let us know who you are.
I'm Hugh Quinn, Chair of the Planning Commission. Thanks for allowing us to get in front of you tonight to go over this. So I think what I'll start with is just a very short little bit of background. So the work we're doing now is basically in support of the initiatives that the Housing Commission is trying to advance. And one of the decisions that was made in order to kind of advance the Housing Commission goals was to basically submit an application to create what's called a neighborhood development area. So a neighborhood development area is a way to map out certain areas of town that are on municipal water and sewer and are viewed as sort of high value targets for the creation of housing. The benefit of getting a neighborhood development area designation in your town is basically in those areas, you're exempt from Act 250 regulations. So Act 250 comes off the table in those areas. And you're also eligible for various state funding programs to create housing that would not be available in other parts of town. So that has a huge benefit in terms of the ability to make these areas more attractive to developers, because everybody knows one of the biggest barriers to creating housing is the Act 250 regulatory lift, and then just the way to make the creation of housing from a developer's point of view profitable. So getting an NDA designation is pretty important. And so the area part. Oh yeah, sorry.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
You said a second ago that this NDA would allow development of certain types of projects that wouldn't be allowed other locations, and what would that include?
No, it's not different kinds of projects, really. It's when you have this designation, if you were to create certain housing developments, certain number of houses, certain amount of acreage in other parts of town, you have to go through the Act 250 process. So there's a whole permitting process. It's associated with just
Okay,
doing a
so
project.
it's just Act 250.
Yeah, you get a pass on Act 250.
Okay,
And then there's probably some funding channels,
Okay.
because you've got an NDA designation that you can tap into that could sort of underwrite some of the costs of the project so a developer could potentially make some money.
so would that include different densities of construction in the NDA area?
Yeah, I mean, all of the areas that were mapped out are basically in areas that in the previous round of bylaw updates, we created the right zoning density
Right.
for, which was basically, driven by statute. In these areas where you have municipal water and sewer, you basically have to allow, I think it's up to like 5 dwellings per acre. So we've already got that kind of density in place. What was missing for us is some of the areas that the Housing Commission has identified as potential project areas, the water tank area, a couple of other properties that the Housing Commission has been evaluating are not eligible to take advantage of these exemptions if we can't get them included in the NDA. So that's sort of the background.
Right.
And so in order to And so part of the NDA application process, there's certain criteria that need to be met either through town plans or regulations or policies that we have in place. And so Aaron Ladd from Mount Escutney Regional Planning has been skillfully navigating sort of the process of what are the criteria that the NDA application is looking for, and how does that map to our current regulations, whether it's town plan, bylaws, other policies that, you know, the town of Chester has instantiated, in identifying, you know, where there's gaps that we need to fill in order to improve our likelihood that the NDA application will get approved. So having said that, that sort of leads into this set of bylaw changes. So what we're here to talk about tonight specifically is what I consider to be fairly straightforward set of bylaw changes so that we can show that we've got the right regulations in place that are consistent with the criteria for the NDA application. So before we go any further, I'll just stop to see if anybody on the board has any questions about, you know, how we got to where we are today.
Gee, when you were talking about basically bypassing Act 250, none of it applies. It just goes strictly by our zoning regulations and stuff. So there's nothing from the state that's going to come in and they're going to say, well, you have to still do this or anything like that.
Not in the
Not in
NDA,
the NDA.
right?
So it's just, it's all going to be governed by our own bylaws and our own.
Right.
Zoning.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other thing that I didn't mention, but I think is also sort of helpful, you know, forward looking, is there is a ton of work that's going on right now at the state level. It's called Act 181. It's a statewide future land use strategy that's going to start driving these different designations of who gets an Act 250 pass and who gets even higher Act 250 regulation. So getting this NDA in place prior to that does a couple of things. A, if that work gets stalled, we can still move forward with housing projects. And B, when that work does get done, what's in your town's NDA is automatically slotted into one of their, what they're calling their designated growth areas. So it's not really up for, you know, debate anymore. You sort of have it already penciled in.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who are they? So you said we apply?
Yep.
Who are we applying to? Who gives this designation?
We're applying to the Community Investment Board, which is a group of people that were put together by the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So those are the agencies that are involved, and the application gets submitted and this board sort of looks at it, and they've, as I said, they've got their criteria. And if it looks good to them and they say yes, then
Are they a state body?
they are.
And what does the natural resources say about all this? Like, are they able to argue against an NDA designation if they want to, or?
That I don't know. I don't know, Aaron, if you have any thoughts on that?
Like a newer,
Yeah.
regulatory body with.
Yeah.
It's okay. Aaron Ladd with Mount Escutney Regional Commission. The Community Investment Board is a new body with Act 181. So a lot of this is new to the state. There are a couple existing neighborhood development areas throughout the state. There's one in Brattleboro, and I've been using a lot of information from their application, but who sits on the Community Investment Board, I honestly am not sure, but I can imagine, given all the regulations happening right now, it would be very wise for them to have somebody from ANR
Right.
on their board. I'd be shocked if somebody wasn't on the board from ANR, so I will just say that. We're an environmentally conscious state, so, you know,
Yeah.
most things that the state I've seen do are very environmentally conscious. So I'm just going to leave with saying that right now.
Got it.
Does
No,
that
that
answers
was
everything?
great. Thank you. I
Yeah.
was getting the sense that this was something that, because my next question is, does whatever this body is provide any other designations? Or this really feels like we're at the vanguard, like if there's one in Brattleboro and one somewhere else. And this is a board, the Community Investment Board was created as part of passing Act 181, it sounds like? Okay, and so they've only had they've only passed forward 2 applications to date, is that right?
I don't know the exact number. I want to say it's between the range of like 8 to 10 municipalities throughout the state that have it right now. When I talked to the state recently, it sounds like we're really the only ones right now that are preparing to submit the application, and they're really excited to see it. So I'll again just kind of leave with that as well. So
Thank you. Hugh, does this, and then I'll let you move on.
Yeah, no worries.
Does this? I guess what I'm trying to say is, are we seeing a moment where the way we do zoning and planning and how it interfaces with the municipality is changing? We're saying that we as a municipality are going to apply to a brand new body for designation that will then be a piece of defining our town plan, right? If we have that designation, it's going to be an anchor of our town plan.
I don't know if it really becomes an anchor of our town plan. Maybe it's, something that, sort of from a consistency point of view. If you say the town plan has, like future land use map component of the town plan, will that then want to align with what we're doing here? So it makes sense and it's kind of cohesive between the town plan, the regional land use maps, the statewide land use maps. Yeah, ideally, you don't want there to be huge inconsistencies, but I think everybody has said, to me anyway, don't mistake any of this work for saying whatever, happens at the state level is going to become some sort of edict that municipalities have to adopt from a town zoning
Yeah,
or land use point of view.
that sort of feels like
Yeah.
what we should be at least paying attention
Yeah.
to a ways down the road.
Yep.
And then just the land, I don't mean to dominate the conversation. I think it would be great if we had a way to develop housing that didn't have to jump through the 250 hoops. That's very appealing. I just want to make sure we're aware that what we're talking about for our plan, this is a process you haven't done before. So in addition to whatever the town plan development and all
Right.
the other things you're doing, this is not the same thing you did last year.
No.
The same thing you've ever done before.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, Bob Flynn, you want to come on up? You have a comment to make?
Quick clarification, Bob, but Springfield Regional Development, the Community Investment Board is a rebranded version of what was the Downtown Board. So they previously had done designations like your village center or designated downtown with growth centers or blah, 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 blah. They were actually in the region 2 weeks ago, and Jason and I did a bus tour with them around the region and stuff, and all the regional planning commissions are working through the Act 181 process on mapping, including Tier 1, Tier 1A, and this is all the same conversation, it's variations.
Okay.
So what is being discussed here in my mind makes a ton of sense,
Oh,
and
yes.
appreciative of the lead you guys are taking on it, and obviously they got strong support from Bob. So
Great.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Bob.
One quick question, does?
Yes.
Am I correct that in my understanding that achieving this designation would also qualify these areas for the incremental tax financing program?
Chip, not, it's not a
The
full
new
chip,
one,
the
the
chip, yes.
chip
Yeah, the chip.
off the old incremental tax financing block. Yes.
It does, but I think we talked about this in the Housing Commission meeting last night. I don't think you have to have this designation to take advantage of CHIP. And you may know, but I don't.
Correct, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, come on, Aaron, come on up to the mic if you don't mind, or bring your chair up and then, welcome to the table. And it's
Hello.
over here too, if you want.
Well, nobody told me that before. Okay.
Earlier.
Yeah, so that's gonna provide we were talking about TIP. What was the other one we were just? CHIP. It's gonna provide priority. So it will kind of bring us to the top of the line with the NDA application.
So
And
it's
that's
trained-
right here. I'm verbatim saying that from the application. So
So, were you done, Tim? So-
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about, when I get a new computer or a new phone and new software comes out, I never download it because it always has a bunch of bugs. And so I'm wondering if this program is that same thing. It feels to me like we could run into some issues that are unintended. And I don't, just at first blush, it sounds like a great program.
Yeah.
But that's my question is,
I think the reason I was asking the questions about how much work it would be to do this was looking at not derailing from the existing scope of work that the planning team is doing. But it does sound like this feels like we just keep an eye on whether it's going off the rails because of the state. It feels like a good.
well, and that's my concern is if it does start going off the rails, are we locked in or can we get out?
That's a good question.
Question.
Yes.
If, the question I have is you have, places like Bruce that have an Act 250 on them now. Okay, so now you're taking the Act 250 off. See, what happens to the existing Act 250 permits that are in town now, because you're saying the zoning controls them. What happens to an industrial Act 250 permits?
If they're in the NDA.
They're in the NDA. Yeah, there are several in the NDA.
It says on properties with an existing Act 250 permit, no permit or permit amendment is required for mixed income housing project that meets underlying permit conditions and jurisdictional
Okay,
thresholds.
so so then, if you have an Act 250 permit and it's not housing, you're basically still in Act 250?
It says that you,
That's what
I would say, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so
or you get a 50% discount on application fees.
Yeah.
So Preston, you want to come on up and introduce yourself, bring a chair?
I'm a little surprised you two are, I feel quite strongly that I've been told that it's only affordable housing projects that are exempt from Act 250.
Okay.
Drew's will still be. Now, what's weird is like with the water tank property that we're talking about, there's a 250 permit there.
Right,
for
exactly.
that, quarry, and so the statute says if you put affordable housing in there, you don't need, you know, you don't need to do, but Drew's would still say completely subject to Act 250.
Because it's not.
Right. There is, at risk of saying too much, there is this possibility in Tier 1A that towns could take over the
No,
Act 250 in there, and then Julie and I both said we do not want it.
Why?
Because essentially we do all the work and we have the state looking over our shoulder telling us what to do, and it's just not a position we want to be in. So Drew's would stay subject to 250 on the water tank property. If it's full, what'd you say, 50%?
50% discount on
Yeah,
application
then-
fees.
You're not.
So that NDA just encompasses the Watertown property and news, or is that area, because it's a circle on the map?
here's a,
Is that
so
in the
those,
package?
it's not in the package because from the bylaw update, the two things on the map that are circled are the only two parcels that need to change zoning, that have a zoning change. But if you look at this map here, basically,
We're not changing the zoning designation.
no,
We're adding a new designation on top of.
yeah, it's like an
whatever's
overlay.
already-
It's not a new zoning district.
well, I think of it like the village center designation that we received many years ago. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing to go off the rails
Right.
and be concerned about.
So
It's
it
not
encompasses a
changing
big
Yeah,
area.
so if you can take a look at this map, no, not everybody can see it online, just to set some context. Currently, the black kind of circle that's around our village center designation is the current Act 250 interim exemption it has. It's a 0.25 mile buffer around the village center designation. What we're doing is suggesting for our NDA, what you see in yellow becomes part of our NDA.
That's
So
the whole time.
The whole,
And
all of the,
along with that.
this plus the yellow.
It's almost like extending your village center designation.
It's kind of a way to extend your village center designation a little bit beyond the 0.25 mile buffer that's sort of.
So the housing benefit can go anywhere in the whole
Anywhere
yellow
in the
now
yellow.
at this point.
Right.
If you put up a bigger project in the village somewhere or
And-
whatever.
And is that yellow area, the areas that are currently served by sewer and
Yes.
water, or could potentially be, because I know there's no
Yeah.
sewer and water up the hill here, but it would
Right.
be easy to connect to
Right.
from there.
Yes.
Does the NDA designation include, sorry, Susan. Does the NDA designation include parameters for those that are on water and sewer and those that aren't? Or are you required to be on water and sewer in order to have the NDA designation?
You don't have to be on water and sewer to be part of the NDA because we have parcels, we have parts of town inside this NDA. I'll give you an example. There's certain parts of Stone Village
Mhm.
in our neighborhood district. Some of those parcels are on water and sewer and some of them are not. They're still inside the NDA. But they probably wouldn't be able to take advantage of the benefits of the NDA because you'd have to be able to meet a certain density. And if you don't have water and sewer, you can't achieve
The density because of the
5
lot size.
units per acre.
Yep.
But it doesn't, there's still, but, you know, the way that we think about that is there's nothing that's gonna say that at some point in time, water and sewer isn't gonna get extended into
Right.
some of these areas in the Stone Village and the neighborhood district that don't have it today. And then as soon as that happens, they become part of the plan. So.
And yeah.
Sorry, Hugh, we,
Yeah.
we derailed the conversation. Continue.
Listen, for me, this was the most important part of the conversation because honestly, the bylaw updates are fairly, what I'll say, mechanical in nature. And so I'll go through them, but for me, I think the more important, part of this story is that this bylaw update is really in support of something much more important, which is work that the Housing Commission is doing and trying to create an opportunity for Chester where we can position ourselves to be able to take advantage of some Act 250 relief and some funding sources. Because, trying to figure out how to create more housing is really important. We don't want things that are in our bylaws to basically become a blocking factor for that. So. Okay. So I'm going to go into the executive summary for just a few minutes, the NDA bylaw executive summary. So, trying to weave through all the bylaw language can be a little overwhelming sometimes. So I try to put together a little summary that's sort of at a high level describes what we're doing. So I'll start with the first one, which is the lot size and setbacks for the Stone Village and the neighborhood districts. Currently, those two districts, because some properties have water and sewer and some properties don't, we had a set of standards in our bylaws that created 2 minimum lot sizes, 2 sets of setbacks, so like 2 of everything. And in order to sort of streamline that and make it more sensible, we basically changed the lot size in setbacks for those zones to be as if everybody was on water and sewer. It makes it very simple. The thing that protects the properties that don't have water and sewer is you can't build a house until you get a wastewater permit from the state of Vermont. So we don't have to put artificial lot sizes in our bylaws to create that protection. That protection already exists because if you have a lot in the Stone Village that's not on water and sewer and it's too small, you will not get a wastewater permit and you will not be able to put a house on it. So, we don't have to artificially regulate that through a second set of minimum lot sizes and setbacks. So that's a change that happened in both Stone Village and the neighborhood districts. The next thing is called driveway standards, but it really should say road standards for new subdivisions, because all of the next all of the remaining changes we're making are small adjustments to the part of the bylaws that are related to the creation of new subdivisions. So what we found was our bylaws were a little bit inconsistent in terms of how we, if you looked at a certain zones, they made vague references to what should happen with, roads and driveways. But yet we have a whole section in our bylaws that's very clear about in subdivisions, this is what should happen with roads and driveways. And it has some language that's been there for a long time, and we're not changing that language. We're just basically referring each zoning district to meet those requirements in the bylaws, which basically refer off to the town of Chester's road and bridge standards. So it's all very consistent. We're not duplicating any regulations or language in our bylaws. We're just kind of connecting the dots and referring to the standards that already exist. So we did that for roads and driveways. The next thing is around sidewalks and
Hold on a
Yep.
second, sorry. When I first read this, I saw the reference to 5.2G
Yeah.
driveways, and that's driveways, not subdivision roads.
But that call out, and this is the challenge with providing snippets of the bylaws. That section we're reading is a subsection of the subdivision standards.
Okay,
So
so.
you don't see that
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're not looking
right.
at the whole bylaw.
Right, because the concern I had was, are we now making it
No,
more difficult for people to put a driveway into a house? Okay,
absolutely not. We're not doing anything like that.
Okay, then thank you for
Yeah, yeah.
that clarification.
Yeah, I mean, when I started to look at it as, part of the struggle when you're doing a high level executive summary is you put too much detail in, people get lost in, what is all this detail? So I tried to keep it high level. In doing so, I failed to kind of articulate the fact that these changes are within a very small section of our bylaws that are associated with when somebody wants to create a new subdivision, not
Okay,
just put a driveway. So
excellent, thank you.
same thing for sidewalks and pedestrian access. It's really, there was some language in our existing bylaws that gave the DRB sort of the may word. Maybe you can do it, and maybe you can't. So we changed some mays to shalls. And again, this is not across the board. This is new subdivisions in areas with a density of greater than 1 unit per acre. So it's not the whole town. It's really these village areas. So that's sidewalk and pedestrian access. Dead end roads, we made a change to, the bylaws already have pretty clear language that discourage dead end roads. We made a change to basically say that in these areas, you really can't have a dead end road that's longer than 1,000 feet. If it's going to be longer than 1,000 feet, figure out how to connect it to another road so that you don't have to have a dead end. And we think that's pretty reasonable. In these parts of town, you wouldn't want to have that requirement out in one of the rural districts where chances are the subdivision could have an access road that's longer than 1,000 feet and it's not going to connect to anything. So we kind of protected ourselves with that. But in these areas, dead end roads really don't need to happen, when you've got a network of streets. So, and then the last thing was utility design easements. It's really, again, it's just being a little more authoritative about making sure that ultimately in these new subdivisions, in these high density areas, you create the ability to ultimately be able to underground your utilities or create a way to keep the utilities, where they should be. Again, there was some wiggle room in the existing bylaws. So that was another one of those sort of may to shall. And that's it. That's all we're changing. And then, I'm happy to go through the page by page if you want, or if you have specific questions, but it's really just the wording changes in the actual bylaw pages that support the executive summary that we just went through. And I think the only other thing I'll say, just to kind of cap this off, and this was to, I think, maybe Tim's point, in your package, there was a map. And so we are changing some language and we're changing the zoning district for two properties. The two properties that are circled on the map used to be in, I think, rural 3. No, residential 2. They used to be in residential 2. They will now be rezoned into neighborhood. So that changes those two properties from basically a minimum lot size of 2 acres down to a minimum lot size of a fifth of an acre. But that's what's needed if we actually want to pursue development of housing on that water tank property.
How might that impact the gravel pit that's existing there?
I don't, we've had a lot of discussions about the gravel pit. I don't think it really affects the gravel pit at all. It really becomes a matter of either the gravel pit's going to stay a gravel pit until its usable life is over because we are not successful in creating housing, or we're going to ultimately possibly stop extracting gravel on that piece of property because we build housing. So for me, I don't necessarily see a scenario, but I could be wrong, where we're actually building houses and still extracting gravel on that particular parcel. But we didn't really have that discussion as a possibility. But changing basically the lot size and setbacks from 1 acre to a fifth of an acre won't really affect gravel extraction, I don't believe. But
That's permitted now, and unless there were housing actually built in that space or some other reason to shut it down.
right.
And its useful life, the extraction.
Yeah, because it's a pre-existing use as a gravel.
So it would still
yeah.
be able to provide gravel. to
Yes.
the town.
Yep.
Yeah, back then when that was, I think it's like a 13-acre site or something, that's part of that water
Yeah.
tower site that was put off to the side that was designated in the Act 250 permit on where they're allowed to go scouting around and get gravel if it's available down there, which is another question altogether. But it sounds like that stays in place no matter what, off to the side if the town wants to use it, because I can't imagine they would are designating to put houses on an Act 250 area that was allowed for gravel and
Right.
so kind of shut that down for no reason.
Well, and where the housing is being proposed from the housing feasibility study is not in the same location.
It's all.
Where you're gonna run into an issue is with this going into the NDA is if we wanted to expand the gravel operation.
Right.
Then we will run into a zoning problem.
You will.
But I do not believe that there is going to be any long-term intention, given that the gravel pit is not producing the level that we thought it might. So I don't know that there would be an intent to expand that pit.
It's not productive enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so my developer, Range Coast, is looking at the road design and the proposed housing development.
Yep.
And you have now said the sewer line has to follow the road, which would triple the cost of the sewer line. Because rather than going straight up the hill that you could go, it's gonna have to follow the road, and it shall follow.
If it's not feasible, then an easement can be created instead of actually doing that. Well, I mean, you can look at the language if you want on that
I did.
particular section. So it says you shall, and if it's not practical, then an easement will be acceptable. That's what it says. So that's a way to basically understand that in some scenarios, a shall is actually impossible. And when the shall is impossible, you create an easement for some future time when it's no longer
But if I were to.
a
delay
no,
the
a
project,
no
in that
starter.
case, you could build the sewer line up the road. It would just make the cost expensive. And you have a shall there, and there would not be a reason that you could not do that other than expense.
Yeah, but that's a reason. That's a reason. money is a reason for,
Crippling a cost.
Then yeah.
so that's all there is to it. I mean, in my view.
Where inclusion of utilities in the road right of way is impractical. Perpetual unobstructed easements 20 feet in width shall be provided with satisfactory access.
Excuse me, Ariana, I can't hear you the best.
Yep, I was rereading 5.3A easements, and just repeating in response to Peter's question, where inclusion of utilities in the road right of way is impractical, perpetual unobstructed easements 20 feet in width shall be provided with satisfactory access to the road.
So there's some option.
So, yeah.
That's almost afraid of.
We're just right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We're codifying the exception.
So, relative to Peter's question, and it would be the DRB that'd be making this decision as to what's impractical.
Yes.
And so, just trying to think of all of the potential objections to a particular development going in. Who, it would be the DRB, the members of that board who would decide what's impractical or not. And so theoretically, you would have people who represent the best interests of the town making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, when I think about that, if you were in front of the DRB with that scenario for development on the water tower property, and the developer said, if I have to follow that shall for that sewer line, the project's dead. So just let me know and I'll pack up my toys and go. So, or the DRB makes a decision to say we agree that that's impractical, and they use the easement, alternative. So the project moves forward. To me, it's seemingly that straightforward.
Well, I guess I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm coming at it from the other perspective. Let's say somebody doesn't want the development to move forward. And so would this be a way to eliminate that potential by saying, well, you say impractical, it's just money, so let's throw more money at it?
Well, I think what would happen is ultimately the DRB would make a decision, and if they thought it was impractical, then I suppose somebody could appeal that decision, and then whatever the appeal process is to figure out how it turns out would kind of be, it's not like somebody could come and say, well, hey, DRB, it's only money, so just figure out how to get the money. The DRB is going to make a decision, and the person that thought it shouldn't happen can certainly appeal the DRB's decision. But then there's a process under which that would get ironed out. So I think, and if it basically if the appeal happened, and at the end of the day, the DRB had to reverse their decision and say, thou shalt, put the sewer line in this area, then if I'm the developer, I'm just going to say, okay, then I'm not going to do the project. So it's going to turn out the way it's going to turn out, I think, regardless. So.
Well, and that's the DRB permit process. That can happen
Right.
for any application, regardless of this.
Right. And again, I'm not trying to throw a wrench in the works.
No,
I'm just trying to
questions.
think.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think
Yeah.
down the road.
I could make it longer. We have a long agenda. However, if I read this the way it used to be, the Development Review Board may require that utilities be placed either in the road right of way between the paved village line or placed horizontally underneath the roadway. This used to empower the Development Review Board to require something of the applicant. By changing it, we are now requiring the Development Review Board to do something. So as opposed to empowering them to make a requirement, we are requiring them to do something. Is that worth noting, or is that, you guys have spent time with this, so I assume that is in fact what we're choosing to do?
Yeah, we're choosing to do this based on the fact that we've had, as part of the process of looking at the bylaws. So again, this is a matter of, I guess what I'll say, compromise where we have an understanding of what needs to happen in the bylaws for the NDA application to be accepted. And so a may to a shall is important to help the application get approved.
Thank you.
So we look at that as, okay, are we willing to turn that may to a shall? And because we think it's important enough to try to get the NDA approved because we feel like the ability to develop housing more easily and more cost effectively is more important than trying to underwrite whatever risk that we might incur by making a may a shall.
Yep.
So that's basically what we did.
And I'm actually not with these guys on the what if somebody argues.
Yeah.
I'm more on the, do we want the power residing with our development review board? Or do we want the authority because of the NDA designation? So it's just,
Yeah.
I think I just want to take a
Yep.
beat to ask people to think for a second, because we are in fact taking power away from the DRB.
We are, yes.
So that-
Yep.
I just want to be on the record as saying,
Yeah.
let's make sure we want to be that.
Well, also, you think it affects the whole area, it also affects the outskirts of town. So, there's a lot of utility lines that does not follow those.
Excuse me, Peter, can you use,
Sorry,
Did it
just
again.
Don't have enough math, sorry. Well, outskirts of town do not have a lot of utilities that follow the roads. And expansion of utilities, the power company or something like that, a lot of times jumps out through the woods. Where it's more practical, and now you're saying not practical. Well, I think you could say, I mean, if you want to say require this, then in the NDA, in the interior of town, the area that you propose, I could see that. But it gets a little, once you get out, it gets kind of dicey after that.
From what I've seen, the utilities, the communications and electric utilities are concentrating on moving their pole lines closer to roads so that they don't have to have people climb those poles. But we could what if this all night long.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, these are some steps that the state has asked us to make if we want to.
If we want the
qualify
NDA.
For the NDA.
Yeah.
And it seems like the NDA is a pretty good price for the town.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we want to do as a select board is to try to get more.
Get more housing.
Right.
More options, making it a little easier, trying to get more developers involved. And as many tools as we can hand them, and still being conscious about environment and all that, like that's the state kind of as stewards for the land and stuff, but to be able to do something,
We need housing.
Yeah.
One last question. So if we did shall everywhere except here, is that gonna boot our application? Or do we know?
Yes.
So it is specific to this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That answers the question. Thank you.
And the area that we're looking at, section 5, and solar.
Yeah, it's
See if we talk, how many zones?
not a zone thing,
Shalls are everywhere.
but it's only for new subdivisions. So we got to keep things in perspective. It's like new subdivisions. And honestly,
No, thank you.
we don't create a lot of new subdivisions.
That's,
We're
Not
trying
yet.
to
Not
create.
yet. That's what we're hoping to
Yeah.
do.
We're trying to create new subdivisions through this.
1960, maybe that was the last one, I don't know.
but all those, the shalls that we're specifically talking about
Yes,
are section 5 is relative to new developments.
yes.
Discussion closing.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the board for you?
I have none.
No.
Any questions from the public on this particular topic? Thank you for your patience.
Oh, yeah,
So-
no, it's all good.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing. We will be discussing this further on in our agenda.
I'll make that motion.
So Arnie made the motion to close the hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tim's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you. Next on
Thank
the
you.
agenda
Thank you.
is approval of the minutes from the select board meeting dated July 15th and the special select board meeting dated July 24th and the select board retreat dated August 1. We'll take those one at a time. Thank you, Hugh and Aaron. Appreciate your time.
July 16th, right?
Yeah.
15, oh,
No, it is the 16th.
It was the 15th?
It's the 16th.
16th. All right, so let's take that one first.
Move to approve the minutes for July 16, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So Ariana's a motion, Tim's a second. Any comments? I have a couple, I was gonna check with you, but Lane spells his name with a Y, correct?
Lane.
Okay, so on page 3 of 7, lines 27 and 31, Lane should be spelled with a Y. And then on page 5 of 7, line 6, Jerry Ucci is UCCI. And then line 7, there needs to be a not inserted after Lee said he was not interested.
Caught that as well.
That changes.
Yes.
I just have one comment, on the same page, page 5, line 24. Says Tim thought all 3 seemed qualified and thanked them for stepping up. As I recall, I also, I said quite a bit more than that there, and I would like to include the fact that, I complimented all 3 as it states here, and I also endorsed Penny Benelli, and I would like to see that included in the minutes, please.
Any other comments or corrections? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor of the July 16th, 2025 select board meeting minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, thank you. Next would be the special select board meeting of July 24th.
Move to approve the select board minutes from the special select board meeting of July 24th.
Second.
Ariana's the motion, Tim's the second. Any corrections or comments on that?
None.
All in favor of the special select board meeting minutes for July 24th, 2025, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And then lastly is the August 1st select board retreat. Don't even know where those went. Might not have that document. Oh, here it is. I found it all by myself. Sorry. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the select board retreat minutes from August 1st, 2025.
Move to approve the minutes from August 1st, 2025.
Second.
Ariana and Tim made the motion in second. Any comments or corrections?
I have none.
You said a lot more than what's on.
I'm not doing conclusion. It was the highlights of what was talked about.
All in favor of approving the select board retreat minutes from August 1st, 2025, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Next on our agenda are citizens' comments. Anybody have any citizens' comments for anything that is not on the agenda? Mr. Bidgood, come on up.
Thank you. Paul Bidgood, through the chairman to the rest of the board, thank you for letting me come here tonight. I was here at the July meeting and I advised the board at that time of some very severe work that had been done on roads that are, under review. Back in mid-March, I had come to a meeting and it was stated that the Snowmobile Club was going to work on a town highway, that it was 700 feet off where it should be. That was the statement. And then at the early May meeting, I came and that's where I asked that no work be done on those roads. In fact, I think it was at least 2 or 3 times, it might have been 4 or 5 times during that meeting. I said, you know, please don't change the facts on the ground up there. Let's leave things the way they are. It's, you know, it's kind of a contentious issue. You know, let's not do anything that's going to upset the apple cart. Well, after that meeting, someone in town advised me that he had heard a rumor that someone had given permission to work on the roads up there. And that took me by surprise. And I went around and I went there myself and I walked up the hill up off Smokeshare Road. Bridge 70 is one of the bridges there where a road is. And I walked up the road. And as I got closer and closer, of course, walking up the hill, I could see that a piece of machinery had been on that road. And once I got up to the crest of the hill, lo and behold, it was just a tremendous amount of work was done. Now, I don't know if that's a town road, a discontinued road. I believe it's discontinued. And I was at that meeting here that night and you four were surprised that the work was done, as was I. And I asked, maybe not explicitly, but I think that I conveyed the request to find out what happened. And a few days later, Julie did send me something that she was looking into it. But I haven't heard anything more than that. And I'd like to know if the board's been able to look into it and can advise me of what was done there. My property is north of that. And, you know, I don't want to trespass on someone's property. I want to be able to get to my property. And as it is now, I don't know what's going on with that road and the other roads there. So could you advise me of, you know, what happened, who did it? I looked around for a permit. There was no permit on the tree. You know, clearly excavator was up there. They ditched, they put a culvert in, cut trees down. I have pictures from beforehand. And, you know, there's big birch trees growing right in the middle of the road prior to this work and all kinds of trees down. So I think I told you all that before. If you could just inform me what it was all about, so I can get, you know, legally and without hindrance, get to my property. I just don't know what's going on up there.
Would you like me to update you?
Sure.
Okay. So I am still waiting on a little bit of information, Paul, which is why I have not responded to you in detail. So as I said in the email that I sent you, it was absolutely not town that did any work up there.
Okay.
We would have no reason to be up there doing anything. So I had indicated that to you ahead of time. I have met with the Snowmobile Club. It was them who had done some work at straightening out a section of the trail. Where their confusion came in is they have written permission from the landowner. And that is what they believe, that's all they believe that they needed. They did not realize that in that area, they were potentially on this section of road. So that's where their confusion came in. I have sent everything to Jim, just, you know, for him to take a look at. But there was no ill intent. I think they thought that they were completely on this individual's property and they have permission from that landowner, and I have a copy of the permission. And so they did not realize that they were doing something that they actually needed select board permission to do. So I believe that is where the confusion is. I have sent everything to Jim. For some guidance on, is the town going to pursue it? Are we not? He's buried in the Thompson Road stuff at the moment, but that's where we're at.
Okay. Okay, I think there was an individual here from the Snowmobile Club, and I'm not, maybe you'll recall, Michael Westing, was he here at the May meeting where I requested no work to be done? Because he actually, if it's the same person, he actually, that's when I said, if the select board could please write a letter to the Snowmobile Club. And that would have solved all the problems. There would have been no miscommunication. But that gentleman stood up and requested you not to send the letter. So I find it, if in fact I have the right name with the right person, I think I looked at the attendees of the meeting, once the meeting minutes came out, and I think it was the only Michael that was there, but I don't want to overstate, it wasn't him, it wasn't him. So I find it hard that it was an innocent mistake. I'll just leave it at
It's
that.
not my place to.
Right,
judge.
right,
I
right,
understand.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm here in good faith and trying to be candid.
Well, we appreciate that.
And, so the other request, I'll wait to hear from what you put together. I'd like to get it soon, because, you know, I can go to my property and I don't want to be messing around on someone's property. I'm not supposed to be there. The other thing is I have requested, a response to, Jim and Peter's report that was put together back on February 5th of this year. I sent a letter in with 8 or 10, requesting clarifications on what was put together that Annie had provided to me. Back when you got it initially from Jim, you allowed me, you recall, you let me have his report. So can I get, where is that? I mean, last time I was here, I talked about a 3 days is the generally when there's a request for information or a public records request, usually within 3 days, there's a response. And, you know, it was February 5th of this year, it was when I requested the information. I didn't have a proper title on it saying, hey, this is a public records request, but essentially that's what it was. So again, to advance the ball, you know, I really need that because I take, you know, much disagreement with the report that Peter put together. And then also, you know, Jim relied on that. And I take issue with some things that many things that Jim had put together. And I want to get to the end zone here, you know? I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We'll be chatting with Julie about how.
There is
best to
some research
respond.
that is still needed. I do want to be clear, your list is not just, you're giving these 5 documents. So please be accurate with that, Paul. It's extended to what you've asked for. And it's in the hands of the legal process. So it's not going to be quick. It's not that I can just shoot you off, but you know, right? So I think there is a little bit more research that is being done because you would challenge some of the documents. And so there's been some research being done to clarify.
Right.
That will benefit everybody.
Right.
So I will certainly check back in with Jim where we're at, and see what other documentation is still.
Okay, appreciate that. All right,
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Paul. Anyone else have any comments they'd like to make at this time? Next is old business, and you should have the manager's memo with the old business. Julie, you want to take us through that, please?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. So just reminder, the improvements to the green, we'll be doing the mock-up on August 28th. They'll be up till September 11th. So just again, getting the word out about that. We'll do some Facebook pushes and that kind of stuff to get the information out there. A positive note, Mike Ranzio, Deputy Chief Ranzio, is now officially paramedic.
Oh, congratulations, Mike.
He has passed, and we received our paramedic level certification from the state of Vermont. So we're up
Excellent.
and running and good to go for paramedic level service. Also, one of the things that I've been wanting to work on for a couple of years, and we're going to actually do it this year, September 14th, we've changed the date, so don't follow your memo. September 14th, we'll be doing an appreciation day for all the volunteers that serve the town of Chester. There are a lot of them. And so September 14th, 4 to 7, we're gonna have a catered dinner, picnic. There's flyers going out. Behind Academy building, there's more space. Brookside Trail is there, just a nice spot. We will have somebody, just a acoustic guitar, playing a little music. It'd be a nice setting. So if you are part of a volunteer organization that serves the community of Chester, this is for you. So we're just getting the word out on that.
So since we get paid, we can't come?
No, you're allowed to. Stipends don't. So that's it for all this.
Excellent. I just wanted to ask about the green improvements, the mock demonstration. What is that going to look like? Is that like sandbags
No,
or?
it's gonna look it's gonna look a little funny. That's why you want to get the word out, right?
Right.
It's gonna look odd, to people. One of the pieces that we have removed is we are not going to mock up the bump outs.
Okay.
We, in a lot of conversations, internally, just decided it's just, we have a lot, that's Route 11, it's a national truck network, we have a lot of, oversized trailers come in, it's just gonna create issues, and it's already relatively narrow there, but we do want to highlight the sidewalks. So one of the things, it won't be mocked up, but one of the things that we are looking at is there's yellow, sidewalk crossing signs there already, replacing those with the ones where you push a button and there's a light that comes on.
That'll help.
So, there's all different kinds of them. You can get them where they're not super obnoxious and won't damage the view of the green. So we're looking at that. And then also, coloring or highlighting the sidewalk itself. You know, many villages you go through, you draw attention by painting the sidewalk a different color. So we'll be looking at that as well.
So
But
can we
the
make it
mock-up-
3D so it looks like there's a block of
hole.
cement? Have you seen those?
Yeah,
Those are pretty cool.
like there's a hole in the road.
Exactly.
What I've never seen is one of those press the button that wasn't obnoxious. There's a lot of stuff going on the green already with signs and this and that, and boy, you start having those flashing lights.
Yeah,
on. I wish
you
you get
get-
a way that was.
You get
to
somebody
promote-
hit though, it's.
Well, I know, but to what extent, you know, then.
We'll have, there will be
We'll get
conversations.
discussion.
You guys will have discussion.
And I can't miss an opportunity to plug this. One of those obnoxious push button signs will be great by Smitty's.
Yeah, well, when we,
Yeah.
there will be when we ever
There's a
get
lot
any.
of flashing lights there already, with the railroad, so it wouldn't hurt over there.
Right.
Sorry.
So the mock-ups on the green itself will be things like, at either end of the green. So at the end that is by School Street, we'll be changing, because people love to go the wrong way, up the green.
I saw it Monday.
Regardless of everything that we've done and all the signs and the painting and the line, I mean, it just, people go the wrong way. So there are some things we can do. We're gonna try to extend out into the travel path there so that it will be very awkward to be going the wrong way. So we're gonna try a few things there. The other end of the green is very wide. It's very open, and it's when you're coming south, people just, it's almost like there's a fork in the road, and people hit that going
Too fast.
going way too fast. You've got people pulling out of parking spots. It's very confusing there because there's so much space. So we're gonna do a few mock-ups and see what can happen there to kind of condense that and make it a little more safe for pedestrians and even for traffic. So we're gonna play with some things. It is going to look like it doesn't belong, because it's temporary and you set it up with, you know, planters and those types of things, and it's gonna feel awkward, which is the importance of getting the word out. That's like, this is a mock-up. We're trying this. There will be something more permanent, but do we like it? Do we not? Yes, we're gonna get 1,000 questions.
Or what do we
why
like
we're
about
doing
it
this.
and what do we not like? about it?
Correct. And so, like I said before, there's a survey that will go out during this process for people to give feedback before anything were to become permanent.
So is there somebody we don't like? We can put their phone number on there. You have complaints, call Tim Roper.
There's a survey.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Wow.
I was gonna say Arnie, but he's sitting next to me. He can reach
You
me.
can reach.
We're getting punchy. And are we on item number 3?
Okay,
I got something quick on old business, and there were a lot of vacations this summer when we were working on the class 4 policies, a small group from the CCC. But we should have it all together by our next meeting in September, which will help because it addresses about working on class 4 roads, which is the issue that has come up through here about the requirements about notifying the town and the permissions and everything else spelled out there, that there are some policies and regulations on how this should all happen, as opposed to just hearsay and what we should or shouldn't do. So it should help in that, when it gets brought out.
excellent. Anything else?
On sidewalks, we did the whole, we did the field work, so it's.
Oh, the sidewalk inventory.
Yeah, the sidewalk inventory. If I could see the parameters of how far you're going with the sidewalk on it, that would help.
Anything else? All right, Next is the zoning bylaw amendment adoption. So we had a presentation from the, what's your title, Hugh? You're the Planning Commission Chair. And has recommended some changes to the bylaws. And so now is our opportunity to vote on those, pass, discuss, table.
I'll put out a motion on the floor to adopt this.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion from Peter and Tim is the second. Any further discussion?
Seems like it's bringing us in the direction that we want it to go as far as the housing goes and getting these bylaws to be a little clearer and a little more straightforward. So yeah, definitely, I think it's definitely a positive change.
All right.
Second?
So Tim already seconded, yeah. So we have a third from Ariana. Okay, so all in favor of adopting the bylaws as presented to us, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Hugh, and your crew.
Good work.
Next is a review of policy on pedestrian facilities in the neighborhood development area, which we are well on our way to.
So this is not the next one, which is the alternatives. This one,
Oh.
we're also going to give to Aaron and Hugh, because this is also connected to the NDA.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay, yeah.
And NDAs.
Okay, so is this Hugh and
Yeah,
Aaron
I'll just
again?
speak to this for a minute. Basically, this document was a recommendation from the folks that we're working with on the NDA application. And what we found was that we don't have strong language in the town plan, in our capital plan, in our bylaws, strong enough language about our intent to create, pedestrian facilities in these areas. So one of the recommendations to address that was to have the select board basically sign a document that says we are committed to the spirit of advancing pedestrian facilities in the neighborhood development area. And the implementation would be to continue to work with the planning commission and other bodies in the town that are responsible for policy and regulation to advance the the recommendations in this document. And if that were to be done, that would be another, what I'll call critical piece to getting the NDA application approved.
So, can you just walk us through? So I'm looking at the policy statement. There are three points to that. Number one is commit to complete pedestrian connectivity, 2, require pedestrian facilities in new development, and 3, prioritize safe routes to key destinations. So could you just walk us through what that means? I get a little bit concerned when I see complete as a policy statement, because complete means sidewalks anywhere within that NDA. And I'm not sure that that's what you meant.
We can always X the complete out on this if that's.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm open to hearing from the rest of the board. I just wanted to find out what that actually meant.
It was just part of the sentence, commit to complete pedestrian connectivity. If it sounds
So
better,
does that-
then that's.
does
what we
that
give
mean-
the order.
Implement and bring to fruition pedestrian connectivity, or are we having entire pedestrian connectivity? Maybe it's just me misinterpreting what that word means.
Complete doesn't finish or complete doesn't total.
Right. Thank you.
I think it's
Ariana.
probably total.
Okay, in
Yeah,
that
can I-
case, I have a strong objection to that.
Because I think, and the only reason I say that is because although maybe I'm wrong, did you interpret complete as everywhere or finished?
Well, when you read the paragraph,
Everywhere.
Okay,
Everywhere.
so that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's any issue with scratching that, but I think, and also because I think there's sort of the implementation part of this document sort of alludes to the fact that this is a journey, you know, that will take
Right.
time.
We're committing to.
Yeah,
committing
to the,
plan.
yeah, to the planning.
I know a couple of years ago, I took exception to the word.
Right,
ensure
but still.
In some kind of policy, because we, the five of us are signing the bottom of the document. and we
Yeah.
have to ensure there, puts a responsibility on us personally. I can't remember how the argument ended 2 years ago when I brought it up. So
Don't ask
I'm not
me.
sure if I ended up saying yes to the word ensure or no, but I mean.
So cool. So backing up here, that's a good point too, Ariana. Commit to planning for pedestrian connectivity. Would that be a suitable edit to item 1?
I mean,
Or just leave it.
Strike the word.
Yeah.
Commit to pedestrian connectivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the insurer, I agree with Ariana, the insurer seems to be a little bit strong. But
How about work to ensure?
What? And I should say, in general, since it's an aspirational policy statement, I think it's a great idea. Before we pick apart
Yeah.
every single area and everything else, in
But-
general.
It's interesting because I had kind of along the same lines. I don't want to paint us into a corner with this. I'm total supporter of pedestrian connectivity, walkable communities, and I think it's a great aspiration, but I think we need to make sure that we don't lock ourselves into something that we can't afford to do.
This is, yeah, again, this is just gonna be a simple statement of policy, just to help show the state that when we open the town plan up again, or any other guiding policy documents, that we're gonna commit to these 3 conditions down the road when the time comes to it, just because on the NDA application, there's an extensive checklist, and this is the checklist item.
Have this,
Yeah.
So where my mind went when I read this over lunch today was if we are able to create the NDA up on the hill by the water tank, and we have ourselves locked into this, you're gonna have sidewalks from there all the way into town. Right, which would be great, but it's millions of dollars too. So that's my only, 2 sides to that coin.
And those proposed improvements do exist in pedestrian plans that are regional right now. It's just that it's not necessarily designated in your town plan at the moment. So that's the reason why, and in negotiating with the state to get this pushed along, they said, a statement of policy would work and satisfy this checklist item.
Right, so, go ahead, Ariana.
I was thinking,
Oh, so before wordsmith, I guess what I'll say is, from my perspective, the objective tonight is to find a variation of a document like this that the select board can get behind. Because I'll say without, like, if this is just completely scratched, then the NDA is at risk.
Yeah,
So,
I'm glad you said that.
That's,
I don't,
that's the
I'm not
bottom
hearing
line.
that from anybody.
No, neither am I. So I just want to make sure we,
that we just-
Yep.
At the condition of subdivision and site plan approvals within the NDA require installation of pedestrian. Could we, with this state of water, if we said pursue installation?
Ariana, thank you.
I'm so sorry. I'm discussing point number 2. Require pedestrian facilities in new development. I'm looking at the word require. In the narrative under, so even if number 2 said require pedestrian facilities, could we change it to? Approvals within the NDA pursue installation of pedestrian facilities that connect to. It takes all the teeth out of it, but if the document would still
Yeah, well,
fulfill the NDA.
Will the state accept that?
I'm in favor of leaving teeth in it. Because sidewalk is a very expensive thing for a town to do, and you can do a development, then have the say, well, we should put sidewalk in here and it's all on us. You know,
Oh, okay,
see,
so
so you
require-
want to do that,
This puts it on the developer.
puts it on the developer.
yeah, and I think just to kind of segue off the sidewalk discussion for a minute, because I agree with you, Peter, we probably better to leave require in, but I will also say to kind of put some potential fears at rest. We do have, you know, the same sort of language in the bylaws already from a DRB perspective that basically say, and here's the example we would use. So when it's just completely impractical to build out the section of sidewalk, there is the way for the DRB to sort of work around that by either creating, instead of actually building out the sidewalk, you know, allocating money to a fund that would ultimately finish the sidewalk. And the example would be, you know, where the storage units are on 103 South. If we had caused them to put a tiny little chunk of sidewalk there that had nothing on either side of it, didn't connect anything, didn't go anywhere, then that would be silly. So the DRB has a way to work around that, but we could also, to Peter's point, have a way to start funding a capital.
I take back my
Yeah,
comment because it's
okay.
pointed out that it's not requiring us to do the sidewalk. It's
Yes.
requiring the developer. to do the
Oh,
sidewalk.
yeah, totally. Okay. Yep.
It seems like another one of those where you have some options.
Yeah.
It's got some teeth if you need it, and if you
Right.
kind of want to skate around it, there's a way to get around it. So,
Right.
Yeah, I would try.
Anything else? I think if we get rid of the complete in number one.
I would
And
change ensure to.
yeah,
work to ensure.
work to, yeah, I think
Yep.
that would make me comfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say happy, but
I like it.
Is the board willing to make a motion to approve it and sign it pending the changes on the front?
I'll make it. That's how we passed. Move to endorse the town of Chester statement policy on pedestrian facilities in the neighborhood development area
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second.
okay, Ariana's a motion, Tim's a second. Any further discussion? So it sounds like you're gonna make the changes. We're gonna sign the document tonight. You're gonna make the
And
changes.
we've gone through changes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye, or just sign your name.
Aye.
Right.
They
So
had it reversed.
also, just make sure you're signing in the correct spot, because it is, it doesn't.
That's my fault.
Not a problem here, it's okay. I just noticed that.
I'm not sure I knew there was an order when I
Arnie
did it.
was here.
Are
for
there-
many
You're
years. Arnie was
Honestly-
here for a lot of years.
I don't care,
Not
so.
too many years, I was not there for a lot.
I did a copy paste from another time, so.
Well, thank you too again.
Yeah.
Are you on here anymore? Agenda, are you next? Okay, next would be the selection of alternative for sidewalk scoping project. And Matt, you're still on line with us and you're the one walking us through it?
Yeah, you know, so this was provided to you guys to look over. I can give you a brief overview of the changes that were made since the last presentation. The alternatives have been modified to remove the grass edge alternative with no curbing. So now the two alternatives per alignment are curb and sidewalk or curb, grass strip and sidewalk. And then a fourth alternative was added as well, which reflects sidewalk on both north and south of 103. And so the figures have been updated and the evaluation matrix has been updated.
Okay,
I'm gonna make a comment. The sidewalks that lasted better in the town are not the sidewalks that rub against the curb. The 3-foot grass strip
Protects them.
protects them. And it also, if you walk through town, you can see, we have a great, they're not sealed. So you have two nice rows of weeds between the sidewalk and the curb all the way through town. And it really, the more you look at it, the more you look at it, the more disturbing. So I am gonna endorse 3B.
and 3B, could you just read the title of that?
So 3B has does the curb, does the stormwater, and follows the sewer line to the high school. When I walked back at the high school, it was pretty interesting. There is a pretty good path there on the sewer line, but it works like a sieve. You can see that you sneak across various different people's lawns. There's no solid one particular lawn, but that is where the traffic's already going.
I wondered about that, at least from the 103 end, it looks like, I mean, it's really hard to tell. Is there a right of way there at all? It looks like somebody's lawn.
Well, that looks like the one person that will probably fight the whole thing. The others, you can kind of see that the track builds between each house. That's a solid, heavily used track by the time it gets to the back of the high school.
I had a question about removing the section of concrete sidewalk along the track. I wonder what drove that addition here.
Don't really have a property, is it?
It's not our property. You know, is there a way to convince you to be happy to afford it? And the reason I say that is we're talking about a housing development on the other side of the high school. And you've just created an NDA or are submitting an application for an NDA for that end of town. So having sidewalks that go through the southern part of town to the high school instead of shooting off, going over Mountain View and up through the back 40. I mean, it would be really nice to have those sidewalks on either side of the road with grass strip, granite curbing, you know, everything in my, you know, little green world going down both sides of the road. You're extending the village, you're extending, you know, the village center, you know.
So you're
the
gonna put
NDA.
electric collars on the kids so they don't jump off and go up, you know, it's really, that's what you're trying to do. You know, when I worked for both Harvard and Brandeis, sidewalks were put in after the students took over. Because that's where the sidewalks go, it's where the students have that.
Right, but this is more about just the students to the high school. This is about pedestrian traffic
community.
connecting two villages.
But also.
So it's more than just the high school.
Well, that's probably true, but on the other hand, you look at the costs and how you would break it down.
Totally understand, and let's remember that this is a feasibility study, this is a scoping study, this is not a, we go build this tomorrow.
So we're picking where to focus
Correct.
the research.
Correct. And this is, I mean, the only way that this would ever get developed, number one, would be in multiple phases. You do one side of the road one time, one side of the road another time. And you would do this with a bike ped grant or funding of some sort, because it is expensive. But I just think about, you know, the long-term goal, while we say sidewalk to the high school, that was the initial objective when we started this. But it's, the
More
picture is
than that.
kind of bigger
Mm-hmm.
than just that.
Well, the other
So
thing,
could you be persuaded,
There are
Peter?
also
Not really,
businesses
no.
that would benefit.
Peter, come on.
come on, listen, I was
Doesn't have to be
promised.
unanimous
I know. I know.
Okay,
Thank you.
Peter's got the floor.
In 1970.
I was born in 73, so I wasn't responsible for that.
So I just want to make sure that gets heard. There are also businesses that would
Right.
benefit from having
Exactly.
sidewalk extended
Right.
along Route 103.
And I just would like to say that even though we're considering all this and it's tentative, a lot of people just want the sidewalks that we have.
Well, and I've been on record saying many,
And
many
just to
times.
make sure that
That's
we
right.
haven't forgotten that we're
Right.
dealing with this project and it's a lot
Right.
of money. And it's just for scoping really, but.
Correct.
We've been working
We
on it
are
for how
aware.
many years now?
I've been on record saying many times, while this is a great project and the scoping study is needed if you're ever gonna get future funding,
Right.
right?
Have the plan on the shelf. Yep.
But the priority has to be the existing sidewalk system that we already have. Because it is grossly deteriorating.
Ariana, you want to say something?
The thing that I'm gonna add to that is when you find that about the sidewalks, the problem that you're gonna fall into is we're gonna fall into draining.
Yeah.
There's many layers of asphalt that have been added and the drainage is the sidewalk has become the drainage. So you're gonna end up having to fix the drainage to have a sidewalk.
Well, that whole area been problems with the water and drainage, all
Well, you're
the
talking-
developments off there that run off that whole area.
Well, I'm talking the whole town. I'm not even, this is not even thinking about this. When
Well,
you
this
think of the
one's
sidewalks in
special.
town.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's another advantage to having the sidewalk go on both sides all the way down. along 103, because at the same time, storm drain system could be installed, which helps resolve that issues.
So if we go for a scoping study with, you know, the Cadillac with everything, you could only scale it down, but at least you have something in
Right.
place.
Right.
That you could use, and then, well, okay, we can't have do both sides, we can't do this, we have to add this.
Right.
But you have the one that covers most of the things that we want to try to address. So
I think that's a great point, and it just, one of the things I learned when I first joined the planning commission and went to the VLCT community training was it's always better to have a plan on the shelf, even if it never gets dusted off. So that's what we're talking about here, is having a plan, and if we have the opportunity to fund it, we can pull it off the shelf and work on it. So I would vote for Julie's vote.
Or B.
Or B. But I just wanted to add my 2 cents. I think having sidewalks on both sides of 103 from a safety concern is better, because then you don't have kids or anybody crossing the road if they don't need to. I mean, you're still gonna have people crossing the road, but the point is that if they're crossing the road to stay on the sidewalk, that just causes or leads to potential for more danger, more safety issues, whatever,
And traffic snarls and all kinds of things.
yeah, yeah. So I would recommend alternative 4B as well. I think that is the one that I think checks all the boxes. It leads to better sidewalks because you have a 3-foot grass curb, and we're increasing the safety of our pedestrians.
And
Ariana?
to Tim's point, that's the most extensive study. So if we're to take pieces of a plan over the next 4 or 5 years, this will have the most pieces and parts that you might be able to extract.
and it's
So I would have, if we were building a sidewalk, I might be having a different conversation, but since this is about designing potential future sidewalks, it feels like let's go for the biggest.
Right.
Well, can we back up to 4 and just say, because it'd be so easy to follow the sewer and put in a gravel path
Over the back.
in the back.
Well, you could do that anyway.
You can do that, but I mean, at least try to leave that in there. I mean, we used to get yelled at by Bob and Parker, but these kids aren't even going that far.
You're saying keep in mind the idea of that back path for the kids going to the school, because that's what they're doing.
That's what we're doing now.
And so as we talk about what we're doing with our current inventory, let's at least keep that as part of that. Yeah,
I agree.
Makes sense.
Matt, do you need a motion?
I don't believe so, just a consensus, and we'll move forward with the final report of this scoping study.
Okay.
4B plus.
4B.
Sounds good. Great.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next, number 8, local options tax for rooms, meal, and alcohol to fund the Housing Trust Reserve Fund. Preston Bristow is our planning guy. What's your title, actually?
Town planner. is what
Town
we've,
planner, excellent.
But we've settled on, yeah. Which is a title I like, but anyway, no, we've talked about a local options tax for a while, and so basically I put some research into it and made a summary and proposed a resolution. It's been around for a long time, but for a time, the only way to pursue it was to do a charter change, and then the legislature was limiting the number of charter changes and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, they finally changed the law and said anyone can do it. So now all we have to do is just get the voters to vote at town meeting that they want to do it. And so the proposal is that you have 4 choices of local option taxes. One is for meals, one is for rooms, one is for alcoholic beverages that are served with a meal, and they separate that out because the state taxes that at 10%. Yeah, so it's 1% higher. That's all. It's 9% for meals and rooms. And then there's also the possibility of retail sales. So the proposal before you is that the meals tax, the alcohol. And so in other words, if you buy alcohol at the liquor store or at Jiffy Mart, it's sales. Alcohols of the meal and the rooms would have a small impact on our local citizenry and a more significant impact on visitors, and that would be a way to generate some income for affordable housing. As I said in the write-up, Chester is too small, so the state says that if they break out the current revenues for those taxes, it'd be revealing proprietary information. But we have a pretty good idea of what it would be. I said 60,000. I'm sure hoping it's going to be more than that, but I don't want to get everyone's hopes too high. I think, Julie, you're kind of thinking that this would not be an action item tonight.
No, this is not planned to be an action item tonight. This was, this has to be voted.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sure said. This has to be voted at town meeting. But if this is a conversation that the board is considering to put before the voters, let's have those conversations early and often. So we can, field out any questions, any concerns that people may have. And this is not a decision that you guys are gonna wanna make in one night. This is a decision you need to think about and maybe talk to your constituents about and just have those thoughts. So it's starting it early.
And I will add that, well, okay. Some people have said, what about, if we can tax alcohol, why can't we tax cannabis? And I've done the research on that. State law is very clear. The cannabis guidebook is very clear that they are to be treated as a retail sale. So unless we put a tax on retail sales, we can't have a special tax on cannabis. But again, our tax on alcohol is not of retail sales of alcohol either. It's of alcohol with a meal.
Can I
So-
clarify one point there? Because when you
Yeah.
say with a meal, that would be if I went into an establishment with a bar
Right.
in order to drink or a beer, that would also be subject to the tax or only with a meal?
No, it would be.
Okay.
It's a
So I
service.
think we just want to.
And so
I just want to clarify.
it could be that I chose this wording suggesting what you could put in the annual vote. It could be we should reword that. The state calls it a alcoholic beverage tax, but the public doesn't necessarily know what that means.
Right. It's important.
And I tried to put the right words in, and so we may want to tinker with those words, or we may want to just simply call it an alcoholic beverage tax, and then at town meeting explain what that means. One thing I will say that if, we're really kind of trying not to burden our local citizenry, but if our local citizens do go into the Legion or something and get an $8 beer, it's 8 cents. So, I mean, it's not terrible. It's a tax. Can't deny it.
Alcoholic beverages served in an establishment.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's right. So there it is.
So, just to be totally transparent, when I first read this, the concern that came to me was somebody gets a hold of this particular sheet that we got. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, the town's doing this. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too late, but can we stamp draft on this before it goes to the public?
For discussion.
Yeah, for discussion only, because, as I read
I-
it, the town is considering, well, we're not considering right now. We're thinking about considering it.
Okay. Well, I was thinking considering covered draft, but you're right. Okay.
Yeah, so and again, I don't want there to be a panic, so to speak, of people thinking this is what we're gonna do. We're just starting a conversation now.
Yeah.
So the $60,000, how did you arrive at that number?
I did have a we know for meals, we took in 2024, there was $4,175,000 taken in Chester for meals. So 1% would be, 41,760. So we're already kind of there. They don't give us figures for rentals or for alcohol. But it just seems, particularly because short-term rentals are included, it does seem likely that we would get there. That's the best I can tell you.
And the other question I had was the Vermont Tax Department would collect and only send us 75% of the actual tax revenue.
Yep. Used to be 70, they moved to 75. Well, it's actually two things. One is that it is to process, but it is also what isn't for processing is put into their so-called pilot fund, which is payment in lieu of taxes, which is the money that we get for state-owned properties. So Chester even gets some of that. Yeah. Some towns get a lot more. And so the legislature was in the past just paying that out of the general fund, and they're now paying it out of this. And the reason why they were comfortable moving from 70 to 75% is that the tax department was collecting too much more than they were paying out. They had a surplus. So.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. What's that?
I was just gonna say thank you.
Oh, I just had a question though. When we talk about all these taxes and stuff, I know we kind of talked about where that money should go, but that should be part of the conversation also, because it sounds like it's gonna be a pretty good piece of change.
Yes.
On exactly, with the housing, whether it all goes there or some of it, or maybe some of it goes toward sidewalks. I mean, there'll be some selling points on it or something. So people might get behind it a little better, but just options available to what you do with the money.
Yeah, let's can talk about it. Yeah, that's why we're having the conversation early. Yeah.
Some towns use it to offset property tax, which to me is like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm not sure I quite get that. I know in Woodstock, of course, Woodstock is going to take in more than we do. They take in about 150,000 a year. About half of it is used for advertising, marketing. Yeah. And that's how they got their businesses behind it. There's been a fair consensus of people saying housing is what we need most, but it's your decision.
To us, the tax seemed connected to us.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that could be, we could earmark it now, and if conditions change in the future, we could revisit that and reallocate funds.
And I will say that, again, I wrote this proposed resolution to say it would be exclusively dedicated to this, and you could change that and say, we don't want to dedicate it, we want to
have
leave
so
that.
much money now
Right.
that-
Right.
Or we have so much housing now
Yeah.
that we need to
Yeah.
use it for something else.
Yeah.
I'm dreaming.
I mean, that's, yeah, I know you are. That is the case with the short-term rental registrations. They were undedicated and you chose last year to put it into the housing
Right.
fund. But it doesn't say it always has to go into the housing fund.
That's our priority.
Yeah. Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the beneficiary of this tax would be, at this point, recommend to be the Housing Reserve Fund.
Yeah.
The people who are paying the tax, we don't know what the percentage of residents would be versus non-residents. The hope is that people who are traveling through or stopping to grab a bite or whatever, they're the ones who are going to pay the tax. I'm just wondering what the impact is going to be on the actual taxpayer resident of Chester. And are we, I'm not saying that $60,000 is nothing, but I was kind of hoping for a much bigger number. And I don't know that it's worth spending the political capital for $60,000.
Well, but the capital, the thing is, if you did the rooms tax, which is what was the beginning option last year that we didn't do. The rooms tax is you're not, no resident, hopefully is paying a room tax every day.
Very few, right?
I will say that is another possible approach. I said there's 4 different things you can vote on. You can do one at a time.
Do you have any projections for what 1% on the room would be?
I don't.
An interesting, it would be an interesting.
I did call the tax department and said, can you give us a hint here? And they said no. So I thought, well, all right.
Sales are too small. There are
Yeah.
too few businesses that deal with
That
rental of rooms, so it was
It would
releasing
give away.
proprietary information.
So just remind me again, the 24,000 for the short-term rental registrations, that's just the one, that's an annual fee, right? So annual fee, and we have certain number of short-term rentals, so that brings in 24,000.
What
Registration one.
Those are the registration.
Yeah.
Right.
the registration is annual. We do pay a company to do the data mining to provide us information. But the staff time that we're putting into administering it, we're kind of just eating. We're just saying that, and so.
We take our total registration, we had agreed to, we take our total, whatever the registration fees are that we've collected for that year. We subtract out what we have to pay to GovOS, and then the difference is what goes to the housing fund.
Yeah.
So that,
And so you had raised the rates to $300 for non-hosted, but you put a cap on it too. So, yeah, you're right. Sorry, Hugh. 600, yeah, which is not small, and I did report earlier. Hugh is the one who does the principal maintenance of the registration program, but even though Peter made the motion on the cap and it was just kind of a guess, it's just about where we're hovering. I think that we don't see we don't see short-term rentals soaring in their popularity at this time. They're leveling off.
Right here, Chris.
Yeah.
That, make sure we're clear. The play for this would be 1% of the revenue from the short-term rental activity itself. So if you rent a room, a house for $300 a night for 3 nights, then 1% of that would be, so that's in addition to this registration.
Right. And the state's collecting that tax now. And so
State collects it.
even with our 62 short-term rentals and two hotel, they're still concerned about giving us that data. So we might figure out how much.
that's right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and actually, the short-term rentals, they pay the 9% meal room tax, and then they pay 3% on top of that because they're short.
To the state,
To the state, and then we would be adding
another 1%. So it would be 14%.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm saying anything new here, but I don't like taxes. And I think that once implemented, they never go away. And so I have a very strong hesitation to adopt anything, but certainly deserves more discussion. I appreciate the work that you did, Preston, to bring this to our attention. And, there's a lot to think about here. I just want to make sure that we have enough time, and we do between now and town meeting, we have enough time to discuss it and try to think through all the unintended consequences of doing something like this.
Well, hopefully with this conversation, we'll get some feedback from people and it'll be start
Right.
being talked about, which is what we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah, I think, and at this moment, I'm not planning to do any more.
No.
Unless you ask me to.
Kind of got it.
But if you ask me to, sure, happy to.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Preston.
Next is, if I could have control, please.
Sorry, getting late.
Loan approval from Chester Development Fund for Calderon Dining LLC.
Been waiting patiently.
Thanks, you.
Thank you.
So Mr. Flint, come on up.
Yes. My pleasure. Bob Flint, Springfield Regional Development, and pleased to introduce Miguel Calderon, who we've been working with for the past few months, who has, well, I was gonna say in the process, but you now have acquired the former Heritage Bakery and Deli.
Congratulations and thank you.
And this application is part of a financing package, which includes a loan for the same amount from SRDC and then master finance help from Brattleboro Savings and Loans. So love Miguel to tell a little bit about himself and this project.
Always a pleasure being with you guys. My wife and I, we came up to Vermont in 2017. Originally I'm from Florida and from the Northeast, and in my earlier career, I'm a chef. And so I ended up leaving, going to Chicago, working at a Michelin star restaurant over there, then sold everything, traveled Europe for about 6 months, working at wineries and restaurants. Then I was invited to go to 11 Madison Park, which at the time got ranked number one in the world. And so I was there for a little bit doing like internship, stage, become stageless, which is like I'm working for free and just connecting. And that's honestly, that's like on the high levels, like a lot of these kitchens are built off of that. And so at the time we were in New York City, and we had some offers from other restaurants. And so at the time, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, which run a CSA farm in Andover, Abundance Acres, they texted my wife. It's like, hey, why don't you guys come up to Vermont to get a gate? Type of deal. And I looked at my wife like, you can go up to Vermont. And she did. She came up, and I knew I was supposed to be with her. And so we got onto the farm, and we started doing pop-up dinners on the farm. And it kind of transitioned a year later to doing it full time. And so that's how like Calderon Dining was born. We do personal chef service in a client's home. I travel with clients, and we do small boutique weddings. And now that we have acquired the Heritage Bakery property, I have had an eye on this property for about 1.5 years, and a big life impact moment happened last August when I broke my knee in 2 places. And so I realized, I had a 3-month-old baby, I have a 4-year-old, and being out of work for 5 months. And so I told my wife, I was like, we have to switch something up, and having to build a business that will work for us. And so when she pushed me, she's like, if you want it, go get it, the property. And everything just kind of fell into place. And we were very blessed to be able to be in that property. We just signed for it yesterday. And we are going to be making still a bakery and eatery called Alder Bakery and Eatery, and to utilize the property in the next 3 years to build out a pavilion on the property with wood fire stoves and ovens, and this place is meant to be a local place. There's a big disconnect with my current business and the locals, because 99.9% of my clients are not locals. And that's, I don't know, I feel like everybody should be able to have the taste refinement in a way. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be really good, and love put into it. And so what I've used, taking the experience from running a business and working at some of the best restaurants in the world, and coming to Chester to be part of the community, to have a place that I want to go to every day, and I want to share that with everybody else. We were focusing on the bakery. There's going to be some sandwiches, some like a small breakfast, then hopefully in next June that we'll be able to open up for night services. And so, yeah, right now it's, we're hoping to reopen in middle of October. But that's a push. We know it's a push, but I think we would be able to get close to do it. But we're part of this community now. My daughter is going to be going through the Chester Andover School in kindergarten, and we're here. I never thought, growing up in Florida, I never thought I would end up in Vermont. And but to be able to be a part of this community, which I've had friends open up business in Manchester, Ludlow, Londonderry, and the community is not like what you see here in Chester. Everybody's very supportive. Everybody wants Chester to thrive, because if I thrive, Metatrina thrives. The Valley Art Gallery thrives because we all have the same clientele, and Fisher Arts and Southern Pie Company. If we're able to bring more businesses here, food businesses, that there's plenty of clients, there's plenty of people for all of us to take a piece of the pie, and to have that mindset of it and helping each other out. And so that's what we're all about. My wife is Kirsten. My son is 15 months. His name is Zavi. My daughter's 5 and she's Zara. And so yeah, we're here. All right.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome here. I'm from Florida too, up the top.
We don't hold it.
But not right now.
Yes,
Serving coffee?
100%. We're looking at
It's just been the common theme in Chester is like.
we're looking at getting some really good coffee. Yeah.
Well, that was a heartwarming story.
Yeah, it
really was.
That was moving. I mean, your passion for what you seem like you're getting into and you're doing, that's a lot of it right there.
It's been a long road. We've been looking, our poor realtor has been with us for 4 years. Susan Starr Adams, and she's gone with us to every property, and it's always something has fallen through or a roadblock, and I can't say how seamless this was, and especially with the transition between Michelle Wilcox and myself. Like, I'm not buying her business, but where the property stands, the legacy that she's kind of left in that property over 20 plus years, I respect that. And the fact that me and her can have conversation, that we text each other, and that she supports me, and that's huge, especially in the small town. In a city, I wouldn't even think about it. But my wife has taught me proper etiquette. Proper small town etiquette in the north. And so
That's
yeah.
a 4-volume set.
I'm glad and I appreciate you mentioning Michelle, because Michelle's done an awful lot, and it's a friend, and there have been several others that we've done this dance with on the property, and it hasn't worked out. So I'm grateful that it has, and I think it's ending up in very good hands. That will be a positive thing for the community.
So sorry, go
We've
ahead.
said, we have sat up here for years talking about how much we need young families in Chester, so.
And restaurant.
And restaurant, yeah.
and that's where the kid, being, you don't see it when you don't have kids. The younger families been realizing that, wow, there's a lot of younger families that are coming from California, Connecticut, Massachusetts to this small town, that want what you can get in a city, the quality that you can get in a city, and not something that's shoddy and overpriced.
Excellent. So you're asking for $32,500 from the Chester Economic Development Fund, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so we need to vote,
Need a motion.
okay?
The last sentence, the return, so 32,000, 5%.
Okay, so, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval for $32,500 at a 5% rate for a 5-year term / 10-year amortization for a monthly payment of $234.79.
So moved.
Tim is a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bonnie is the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Pleasure. My grandson's gonna be in kindergarten with your daughter.
Thank you very much.
So I'll get the loan documents together and I'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Good night.
See you, Paul. Have a good night.
Oh,
Okay, bye.
Grant.
Walk it out.
Yeah.
Take a recess. Wow.
They would
Oh my
sometimes really do it, right?
We get on the stairs. I like the stairs to stretch out.
All right, yeah. Take a 3-minute recess
We've only.
or as long as there are
We've only
any.
got like 7 more items.
Right. Give it a second. I hate
6
that.
more items, sorry.
Your whole leg cringe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whole leg go. It's like, look. Like paralyzing. Yeah.
Home, just for old man breakfast.
There you go.
Glad when it opened up again.
Right, nice.
Then it could be comb over.
Yeah. Wow.
My dad,
Rico.
when my dad retired, him and John Nunnicove, and there was a group in the church who would get together once a week. They
Right,
worked
been
the
sitting
rodeo.
for a while.
Retired old
Yeah,
man.
we have. You okay? You okay?
Oh, yeah. It's just, wow.
You want us to stand up? We can stand up for the rest of the meeting.
You got it. I'm.
The worst thing. Well, that was.
That was, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I would have given him more money.
But feel free.
That's big.
I got $100 in my pocket. I should have given it to him. Here, that's my first cup of coffee.
Buying it is a business plan, not.
Well, Bob.
Fair.
I know. It's been vetted
Yeah.
either.
Right, right.
Bob did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was always a discussion about whether you should pay Bob or keep the money, like Bob just
No.
walks it right in there.
He's so well worth the money. Very worth the money.
Doing it forever.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a very valuable.
Remember when Bob.
All right, so next on the agenda is to sign the loan documents for the cruiser purchase.
So you don't have loan documents with cruiser purchase. So
So what do we have?
I would rather not borrow.
What's that?
Huh?
You good with that?
Yeah, you know, the process, we used to be able to, when it was People's Bank, and then when M&T first started, you used to be able to just go, you know, get a 4-year note on an equipment loan and not a big deal, finance it for a few years, you have a decent interest rate, life is good and it's easy. All of a sudden, we go to do this one. And it's taken 8 weeks, literally, to even get to this point. They send me a document that is, I sent it, like, what is this? I sent it off to Eli Emerson, who's bond counsel, and said, have you ever seen this? Like, what is this? And he's like, this is hefty. So I had a bunch of meetings with M&T. This is their new process. And interest rate of like 6.2%. That's the going rate. And I finally just had a moment the other day and I'm like, for $70,000, like this is dumb. And so, and as I'm working on a true capital plan, you know, one of the things that I always say that, we're developing our asset inventories and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, one of the things that I'm going to be coming to you guys with, relatively soon is going to be, you know, here is the total of our debt payments for things financed 7 years or less. And, I would really love to get out, if we're going to switch into a capital plan, those are not the things you borrow for. You know, anything that has a lifespan of 7 years or less, you just pay for it. And so how can we get out from under that debt and start into an actual capital plan. And so, I mean, we have a surplus in the capital plan now. It's not a huge one, but a little over 100,000. And I would just love permission to not borrow and just pay for the cruiser out of the capital plan. We can make some of that up next year. I mean, we're budgeted in the capital plan to repay ourselves the 4 years for the loan anyway. If we choose to do that, we can still figure out a way to build that into our.
You can make it a loan and we could pay back at 2%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Pay back the capital.
Yeah, there's creative ways to do this. It just seems silly to me to borrow $70,000. It's 6% interest for 4 years on. So I don't know.
Kind of open
It's
the
just where I'm
topic
at.
at the retreat, where
Yeah.
you wanted to get away from borrowing,
Yes.
but maybe this is the first
Yeah.
step into
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's,
I can tell you that what we will have to go through now for these small equipment loans, I will never do this again. If we are buying equipment and we're not gonna do the capital plan, if we're gonna keep with the financing method, I'll put them all into bonds. I'll make it all in one bond payment. The process has changed. So anyway,
so maybe the bank needs to change.
yeah,
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Well, myself.
good luck.
So Julie and I were talking earlier today and I thought of something I meant to ask and I forgot until a few minutes ago. And that is, do we have anywhere, and this talks about financials a little bit, but do we have anywhere a table that shows all of the money that we're holding in all various accounts? So is that, along the lines of paying ourselves our own interest? Can we borrow money out of some of those funds and then pay it back with interest? So,
We've done that in the past from the Desert Development
Not
Fund.
all the funds, certain funds.
Certain funds, right, but we've done that before out of the development funds.
I mean, it
Done that
seems
number
to
of
me that that's the best way to approach this, because number one, it's gonna save a lot of time and effort and 6.5% or whatever.
Right,
the
exactly, we can
interest
charge
rate
ourselves
is.
whatever
It'd
we
still be
want.
good to pay a little interest.
Sure, yeah,
To make it, so the fund will bill that you're borrowing from.
Right.
Plus save us money. as a
Right.
town.
But the point is, we don't need to go to the bank.
Right.
To borrow money that we're sitting on.
Right.
Which is,
In the
has
bank.
an administrative cost, which apparently has escalated exponentially along with the interest rate.
Okay, so we're not signing any loan document
No.
for the police cruiser.
No.
We're looking for a motion.
And I don't need a motion, I just need to know from you guys if, I would just like to investigate it further.
Yeah.
And not borrow and see what we can do.
And set up something where it's really transparent and clear. This is where the money's coming from, this is where it's going
Right,
back.
right.
At what percentage rate over what time.
Yep.
It all has to be kept track of.
Absolutely, and decide if we even need to do that. Like Lori and I are kind of fishing through everything at the moment, getting all those loans together, I mean, we have them on a spreadsheet, but kind of working on how we're gonna present this to you guys and different options of moving forward, that kind of thing. So it just doesn't make sense to me on that note either, to now go borrow for 4 years when, the proposal might be that you're gonna pay off that debt next year. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So we could just pause on the loan. We're fine cash flow wise, so we can front the 70 that we paid for the cruiser. So
Okay.
When do we get the cruiser?
we have.
We already have it.
Yeah.
We already
We've
paid,
already paid.
we already paid for it.
All right,
Now, that's
next
a good
is,
segue into report two financials.
do you want to take us through it?
There's not much to take through. I mean, it's, at a quarter two, so, end of June. The financials
So we should be at the,
we're not usually real exciting until, third quarter is when your tax comes out, and things start to get like, this line could be tight, that line could be tight. There's not really much, of special mention at this point. Things that I had put in your memo. You're gonna see in here cemetery payroll is currently fully expensed to
Mhm.
highway, so in quarter three, that gets transitioned, that gets divided out. PD legal is over, remember we had a union agreement, earlier, so that's part of it. As well as some public records request things that we've had to.
Yeah, what was that?
So I will make this. I don't want to get too descriptive in an open meeting, but we have had a string of public records requests, 6 public records requests from one individual. that received a speeding ticket that did not get retraced. And so there has been a process, that we've had to go through that has involved Jim Carroll. At this point, there have been statements of, wanting to sue the town. So everybody has a right to take action if they choose. And so that has added legal fees. So that's part of the reason why the PD legal line is on. That included. Water numbers again include the meter purchase, so that distorts that bottom line. Lori and I right now we're working with the auditors to see if we could establish. I'd really like to pull grants and special projects out of the water sewer operational budget, like we have the general fund. So we're working on maybe the best way to do that for those enterprise funds. Rules are a little bit different for them, so working on some of that. So those numbers look skewed because of those projects. So hoping to have that resolved. So those look a little easier to read. But that's really all I had to mention, unless people have questions.
Yep, delinquent taxes.
Yes.
Where are we, basically?
So right now, 2025 taxes are not due yet.
That's true.
They're not delinquent. Our prior to 2025 delinquent tax, I'm not sure the number, Peter, but it's down. It's very low.
Yeah.
We had some of our biggest delinquent accounts got paid.
Yeah.
And when the VHAP program, when those were both around with the federal money that helped people catch up, we had a lot of our delinquent accounts. We went after them to say, hey, apply for this. And so we got a lot of our old stuff cleaned up that way. And what we have left is long-term where people are making. I am watching our collections for 2025. I have a spreadsheet where I kind of look at it. So far, in line with previous years, our payments are in line with end of August, September is where the bulk of our tax revenue comes in. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But so far, I'm not seeing it trail off.
When most people have a mortgage, roll their property tax into that mortgage. When do the banks send?
Often banks don't pay until August. They pay at the last minute. I'm sorry, September. Yeah, it's usually that.
Hold the money as
Usually
long as they can, try to loan it back to you at 6.2%.
That's right. Exactly right.
Let's see, my other question was, when I was looking at highway contracts, it was, the subcontracts, the paving patch people.
Mhm.
They were gonna be in the 7,000 range, and we've already spent 3.
I thought they're gonna be in the 12,000.
They're gonna be in the 12,000 range.
To 12.
Yeah, so no, they're actually gonna be higher than that. So, actually they were closer to 20 because we had them do the
Oh,
whole
that's right.
section.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, part of this is coming from the bond from Flamstead. Because that came in less than what we had bonded for.
Okay.
So we're gonna use that extra money for this, and we had indicated that the paving budget is going to be over.
Yeah.
It will be over.
That was just in walk on School Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's treacherous.
Well,
There are 3 treacherous spots on School
Well,
Street.
the section where there was the old crosswalk, like right at the end of the green,
Yeah.
that section,
Yeah, that's all.
that's gonna end.
Yeah, that's already been cut.
That'll be patches,
But there are 2.
because that was for a water line.
Storm drains further down.
Well, that's whether it's, the thing is there, is it worth fixing them, or do you have to just start all over?
Yeah, I don't know, but Kirby's aware of it because we know about it.
That may be slightly.
But you don't want to drive through either one of those, I can tell you that, because I backed into one. Luckily I have 4-wheel drive.
So, Peter raised a question,
Pretty bad.
a year or two ago regarding the current use fees and whether or not Chester is getting reimbursed by the state for those tax offsets. Have we figured out what's going on with that?
You do something with Kathy on that back then?
Well, I was
no?
not, well, we
Okay.
talked about it, but it never got any farther.
And we get reimbursed, we're just not sure if it's the proper amount.
Right, we don't know.
That's what Peter was asking. Is there a way to reconcile and
Yeah.
confirm that what we're getting?
When I was working on it before, it was like The state comes back with a magic number that covers also the railroad and everything else.
It's like the school tax formula.
Right, well, I don't know.
Nobody
It
understands.
may-
It's
maybe
not
more
that clear.
magical than that. School tax, at least it's being taxed in school.
I will follow up on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good
I
question.
don't have an answer to that, but I will follow up.
It's interesting to see the transfer for the ambulance revenue. Wow.
Well, and that's not even through June, that's
Don't
really
have to
through
use-
May,
And
that's
that-
really through
And that's
May,
gonna go up now.
because it's delayed. So that didn't even reflect all of June's.
Now that we have paramedic rating, we can do.
There will be billings that
Higher
we can do
level.
higher, correct. Correct.
But you're working on the borrowed ambulance time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna be a discussion for
We
next
need to
year.
put money in aside for that.
Yep.
I noticed other towns are taking notice too.
Yeah. We're setting the
That
precedent.
may
with
cut
our
into our
ambulance
revenue, we protect our turf.
right. So we're gonna get Bigfoot ambulance. Giant tire, never mind. All right, number 12. Approve Group D retirement for police department union members.
So when I had you guys do the group D, we had left off the union guys, the union employees. So now we need to do it for the union employees, because they're a separate category.
Yeah.
And
Do we do
they
it
were
now?
actually the primary.
Do we do it now or is it a bargaining chip when we go to
So
negotiate?
what I would like, if you're willing to, is to have you approve it now. Because we want to put it in effect January 1. So yes, it will absolutely be a bargaining chip. For sure.
But we already do it. We've already done it. They already
In
have.
January 1, but yes,
It becomes part of, because you say, we've done this.
we've done this for you.
Because it's
Correct.
part of the negotiation, we say we are expending more than we used to.
Already.
Correct.
And we cannot do X, Y,
Yeah.
Z.
Correct.
Just protect that.
Correct.
Buddy.
Right. Yeah, it'll still be a bargaining chip. Because, well, first of all, let me say, we have no members in. There are, none of our officers
Current,
are
at the
union
moment.
members, current. So
How
we
about
are,
The new guy,
no,
the-
he's not interested in being part of the union.
really?
So, which is interesting to me, but anyway, so I'm going to be starting those conversations with the union rep very soon. Friday, I'm meeting with the chief and we're gonna kind of go over, there are things within that union contract that need to be fine tuned now that we've lived with it for a couple of years. So go through, identify those things first, and then in early September, I'll be coming who wants to be part of this negotiation. But it's gonna be us with Chris. It's gonna be us with Chris as the union rep for New England.
So at any point, do they lose the union because they have no members?
I have not gotten clarity on that, but my understanding is as long as we have a police department, there is a union. Unless union members vote to disband the union. So there will be a union.
There's
for
a
as
catch
long as-
22.
You
If
don't
you
have
ever heard
members.
of it.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Alright.
So we still have to go through the process.
So it's costing the union money to have a union with no members.
Correct.
Yeah. They're not getting
They're
dues.
not getting dues, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Should be easy negotiating. too.
You would think, yeah. Okay, so we need to make a motion. And so I'll entertain a motion that the town of Chester presently participates in VEMR's Group C for its qualified law enforcement employees. We elect to offer to the category of union member law enforcement officers the higher Group D, effective January 1st, 2026. The existing described position will be administered on an election by the VEMR's office to remain in their present Group C or transfer the Group D effective January 1, 2026. And any newly hired union member law enforcement officers after the approval date will not be given this election and will automatically be enrolled in Group D effective January 1st, 2026.
So moved.
So Ariana's made the motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Peter's the second. Any discussion? Okay, I'm not reading this all over again. So all in favor of the motion that I read a few minutes ago, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent, thank you. Next, we have cemetery deeds, two of them. So we just sign it, right? I don't know that he has.
Oh, this is just.
Just-
Then they just bought.
You heard Mylan Cook passed away. Oh, goody. Oh, dear.
Haven't seen him on the board in a while.
All good?
Yep.
Next is new business, next agenda.
That to bring the list of what I have on there. Class 4 is on there. There's like 3 things.
Too soon to revisit the discussion of the local options tax?
Yeah.
Sorry. Because we're talking about budget for December that we have, we're talking about that as part of the budget as planning for the year. Sorry, it's not necessarily too soon. We can bring it back up if we need to. The September 3rd agenda felt like it had other stuff.
Clearly.
It's been late for hours.
I get one more cramp. I'm out.
Are we still? So,
No, the only reason I bring it up is because I think it's really important that it get out there publicly. I'm sure Sean will make mention of it because it's news.
Yeah.
And just want to make sure people know that we're open to discussion and hearing what they have to say.
yep, it's fine with me.
Put on the next agenda.
If it fits. I mean, I have any choice.
It'll be either quick or go
Yeah.
long, depending on if they want to call.
There were 2 other things and I can't remember what they are.
Well, we'll put those on too,
Perfect.
since we trust you.
Okay.
For the most part.
No, you're gonna have to figure out, we're back to figuring out how we're gonna pay for the cruiser. Kind of works out.
I don't know if that's gonna be ready for this. We'll have to see. Lori and I,
Already
is this part of a budget?
Paid attention.
We're knee deep, we're neck deep and.
Okay,
neck deep. We're not-
so next
These numbers.
is,
my neck isn't, but
We have a whole other meeting to do.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Sorry, Julie, for a future agenda, but not September 3rd. Canvas Commission. I think we have to don't we have to reappoint?
in March,
Oh, not until March.
March to March. Everybody is now on March appointments.
Okay, good.
So,
That's all.
So I'm not seeing the motion to get into this executive session.
It was on that separate piece of paper
Yeah.
that I gave you.
Oh, okay, never mind. No, I have it right here. I just forgot. All right, so I will accept the motion to move to find that premature general public knowledge of confidential attorney-client communications for the purpose of providing professional legal services relative to the purchase of a solar field would place the town of Chester at a substantial disadvantage.
I'll make that motion.
Arnie's the motion,
I'll second.
Tim's the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. I will now accept the motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of reviewing communication from town council regarding the purchase of a solar field pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313(1)(f). Motion to include inviting in town manager Julie Pants.
So moved.
Ariana's the motion.
Second, third.
Tim is the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. We're in executive session.
Can I